Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday. Hey, baby, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fabulous. Going to be doing another Winning a Wednesday. We have Michael Arntfield as our guest today. He sent us a copy of his book. It's a considerably big book. It's called Monster City. You've got that right over there. That's right down there.
I do. It's on my floor. I haven't started reading it yet.
Well, we're giving it away, too. So you're going to read it before we give it away? Can we still give it away then?
Yeah.
So it's a pre-read book by Heidi?
Tell you what, I'll even sign it for you.
Oh. We'll ask you ahead of time if you want her to ruin the book by signing it. But we're going to be giving away a copy of Monster City from Michael Arntfield, chatting with him later in the program. Walt Whitman is our quote today. He says, "We convince by our presence." So there you go. I like that. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show, and thank you for your presence on this Wednesday. If you have a dog, listen to this. FreshPatch.com is a subscription service that will send you a box with a fresh patch of grass for your dog to use for a few weeks. Then they send you a new fresh patch and you discard the old one. You can throw it in the trash, use it for compost, or even put it in your yard and it'll grow into the ground. FreshPatch.com has thousands of happy dog families who love this concept, especially in the colder months. Try it now for a little less. Use promo code RADIO to save 10%. That's FreshPatch.com, promo code RADIO. Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It is Wednesday, the 19th day of September. It is National Butterscotch Pudding Day. My least favorite of all the puddings. I'm sorry, butterscotch fans.
You know what? Tapioca is my least favorite.
I like tapioca. I'm just the butterscotch. I'll have it. I'm like,
I won't even have.
I'm gonna eat it because it's still pudding. But if I have like 12 other flavors, I'll eat all of those first. And I'm like, okay, well, time to finally tackle that butterscotch. So for those of you who are fans, today's your day. It's also Talk Like a Pirate Day. Arg, walk the plank or something while you're eating butterscotch pudding. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Radio. It's a pretty amazing marketing tool. But like many tools, it works best when used properly. Like, let's take this weed whacker. I could use this to trim my hair. Yikes. Hope that grows back. But that's not what weed whackers are for. Tools work much better when you use them for their proper use, just like radio. If you want help making radio work better for your business, that's our business. RadioReallyWorks.com. Get better results with the money you're already spending. RadioReallyWorks.com. Coming up, we've got your brain on drugs, but first, is it a golf course or is it a rehab center? Heidi has to try to guess.
Okay,
I'm
ready.
You think you're going to get it today?
I think I can do it.
You've done well, although you didn't do well yesterday, but usually you do well. Harbor Pines in Egg Arbor, New Jersey. Is that a golf course or is it a rehab center? Harbor Pines.
I'm going to
Join
say rehab center.
If you'd like to go golfing, it's a golf course. Heidi, 2 wrong in a row.
I know.
All this
I'm
covering up the answers over here is really starting to trip your style.
Oh my God.
She doesn't really cheat. She's just really smart. All right, we got your brain on drugs coming right up. We're getting to the time of year where we start planning for holiday parties and other events that often include alcohol. I encourage you to have some alcohol-free options as well. And if you are drinking, be sure to have a designated driver. If you or someone you know has a problem with drugs or alcohol, there is help. TimeForRehab.com would love to connect you with someone who can be there for you or that loved one. If you feel like it's time to finally get the help you need, we're here for you. TimeForRehab.com. That's TimeForRehab.com. And this is your brain on drugs. A burglar in England downed 24 bottles of beer and a bottle of Jägermeister before he tried to escape from a police on a bicycle.
From a police.
From police on a bicycle. Yeah. You know what I mean. Jai Kennedy. J-Y. Is that a word? Is that a name? Jai?
Apparently.
Never heard that before. He had also had some cocaine in his system. He was chased by police. He was chased by a police for a mile. No. Then he made a number of U-turns to shake them. 24-year-old eventually crashed into a police car and fell off his bike, ending the chase. 2 officers heard a burglar alarm go off, and that's when they spotted him cycling along, clutching a flat-screen TV. This is not well thought out. He says, it was quite clear the defendant was drunk. He tried to run, but did not get very far and was arrested. They found a number of other items that he had taken from the same address earlier. They were laid out on his bed, a jewelry box, a camcorder, and a watch. They quizzed him and asked why he did what he had done. He said, I recently was released from prison and I was bored. Well, of course. It's what happens when your brain is on drugs. Now, big screen, little screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com. Actor Matthew Perry has been in a hospital bed for 3 months due to gastrointestinal issues. He told his friends the issue stems from his years of alcohol and drug use. He was quoted as saying, "You play, you pay." So, Matthew Perry, get well. Ben Affleck is leaving Batman franchise and will no longer play that part, and he's recently done some rehab stuff as well. Hopefully all is going well there. Forbes announced that Jay-Z was the highest paid rapper in 2017. How much do you suppose Jay-Z brought down in 2017?
Gosh, I couldn't even.
Just throw a
begin to
number
tell you.
out there.
I don't know. 15 million.
No. $76 million.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that's almost as much as we make here.
Almost. Pretty close.
We're only
Minus a few
$16,999,000 behind. All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday. Radio. It's a pretty amazing marketing tool. But like many tools, it works best when used properly. Like, let's take this weed whacker. I could use this to trim my hair. Yikes. Hope that grows back. But that's not what weed whackers are for. Tools work much better when you use them for their proper use, just like radio. If you want help making radio work better for your business, that's our business. RadioReallyWorks.com. Get better results with the money you're already spending. RadioReallyWorks.com. Now your scoop of the day, brought to you by 80sinthesand.com. A study by the World Health Organization found that nearly 1/3 of college students have a mental disorder. Did we read this already?
Yes, we did.
Apparently,
and I agreed with it.
Apparently, one half of this radio program also has some issues. You have to guess which. I have had the weirdest memory loss things. Do you remember last week we were... It was right when the show was done. We were in the studio here, and I said, "Did you make coffee?" And Heidi was like, "No, I didn't make coffee." I was like, "Do you smell that?" And she's like, "I don't smell anything." I said, "I smell coffee." And then a minute later, I looked to my left, and there's a cup of coffee that I poured myself. I completely forgot about that. I have no idea what's going on. Hey, a survey by Divorce Online, which I didn't know was a thing, but apparently it is, they found that video game Fortnite has caused over 200 divorces since January of this year. So steer clear of Fortnite. Otherwise, you might be spending your own night all by yourself, because
Isn't that
200 divorces
bizarre?
since January.
Why would you choose?
I don't know. Every time I make you choose me over Candy Crush.
I do.
Although I have to admit, I've never made you choose because I'm kind of concerned that you might not choose me. Heidi, one of us have to go. It's either me or Candy Crush.
I would choose you.
You see the next scene, and it's me sitting on the curb. A Long Island woman filed a lawsuit against Samsung, claiming that her Galaxy Note 9 burst into flames inside of her purse. Yikes, that's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
Hope that doesn't happen to a lot of people.
Especially if you have fireworks in there.
Yeah. Why would you have... Why would you have fireworks in your purse?
Why wouldn't you?
Well,
And then it'll melt your Pez dispenser.
do you have fireworks in your purse at this particular moment?
Maybe.
I hope not. A video has gone viral of a 2,000-pound bull that escaped from a Utah veterinarian's office. He was going to have some work done. They were going to circumcise the bull. I don't know if that's really what they were going to do. I wonder if they were going to neuter him. I don't know. This story, I don't know if they know what they're talking about. Do bulls get circumcised?
I don't know.
I had no...
I thought the whole point of a bull
I
was
don't
for it
know.
to not be...
I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, there's video of a 2,000-pound bull that escaped from a veterinarian's office when he was going to have something done. Don't quote me on what was going to be done, but something. And he didn't think that was a good idea, so he went and left. He decided not to stay. So, moving on. North Korea is being slammed online after images surfaced from their national zoo. They show sloppy conditions, even an orangutan who was smoking a cigarette. This was at a zoo in North Korea. In his defense, they showed up during his break time. So, he doesn't always smoke.
First of all,
I didn't know.
anybody think a zoo in North Korea would be anything but
I
poor
don't know.
conditions?
Yeah,
I mean, their
it's-
people don't have great conditions.
I don't know, but it's sad. I've got a link to the story if you want to read all about it. We're all out of time. Oh, shucks. Thanks for listening. I can only imagine where Heidi would go on this. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday. We're getting to the time of year where we start planning for holiday parties and other events that often include alcohol. I encourage you to have some alcohol-free options as well. And if you are drinking, be sure to have a designated driver. If you or someone you know has a problem with drugs or alcohol, there is help. Timeforrehab.com would love to connect you with someone who can be there for you or that loved one. If you feel like it's time to finally get the help you need, we're here for you. Timeforrehab.com. That's timeforrehab.com. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Today we've got a special guest joining us on a Winning Wednesday. We're going to be giving away his book. We've got Professor Michael Arntfield joining us, and he's got a new book out called Monster City. He is a best-selling true crime author. You may remember his book Mad City that did fantastically well. And he's also got a true crime series that airs on Oxygen Network and Oprah Winfrey Network. Michael, thank you for joining us today. And now, which book is this? Number 12? Is that what you're up to now?
12 true crime books. Yeah, you got it, John.
I love the fact that before being a true crime writer, you actually spent 15 years as a police officer and a detective, so thank you for your time doing that as well. That is fantastic.
Thank you so much, yeah. And, I mean, it's where you get the authenticity, I think, and the comp's perspective in a lot of my books that I always found lacking in a lot of true crime, that sort of told the story from the perspective or glamorized the killer or the offender. I sort of turn the tables, and it's a book, I think, that has protagonists that your listeners can relate with more, I think. I hope.
And I was going to say, I believe that also probably prepared you for the topic that you're writing about, because it's kind of a deep topic. It's, when you're talking about people being killed, that's not an easy thing to talk about. But if you spent 15 years as a detective and a police officer, to just talk about it is easy rather than trying to solve the crime,
Right, and it allows me to tell the story in a way that, like an investigation, and so I bring the reader along as though it is a police investigation. I'm not just retelling a story. You'll learn, for instance, when you read the book, about documents that turn up or tips that come in, and it's really like you're along for the ride, and like any good mystery. The difference is that it's not fiction, and at the end it gets solved. In fact, the detective in this book, who's based in Nashville, has solved more cold cases than any detective still living in America, and I figured that out, and that's all explained, and that's why this story had to be told.
And it's the perspective is you are in the game rather than on the sidelines, and you were talking about this detective that solved all of these cases. Do you see maybe even some other books that could come down the pike with you two working together?
Yeah, to be honest, John, each of these cases is its own book, and coalescing all of them into only one book and assigning a chapter for each of these cases, sort of in chronological order, was a real challenge. And the book ends, without giving too much away, in terms of showcasing some additional cases that still need to be solved. I mean, no comp, as good as you are, bats 1,000. So there's always still those nagging cases that don't get solved, and some of the ones in Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, are really disturbing and need to be solved. So I sort of leave readers with an open call for action on those.
Let's talk a little bit about the detective that is in the book. And I see his first name is Pat. How do you say the last name?
Postiglione.
I'm glad I let you do that, because I would have got it wrong. So Detective Postiglione.
Yeah, practice.
Yeah. It sounds like he is quite the guy and an amazing detective. Do you know how long has he been a detective and working on cases like this?
He joined the Nashville PD in 1980 after going there on holidays, like a lot of people do now. He was actually on a wait list for a couple of police departments in New York, and it went there basically as a bucket list holiday before he signed up, or at least started on the beat, and loved it so much he stayed. And talk about fate being put in motion. Had he not taken that trip and stayed there, there's some killers of monstrous proportion, hence the name of the book, that I think would have never been caught. The efforts he went to and the techniques he used were 30 years ahead of their time.
That is fantastic. Well, we've got a copy of your book right here, and it's an amazing book. You did an amazing job putting the book together. Let's talk about the rest of the Murder City series. Do you kind of have some things that you see coming down the road here for your next project you're working on?
It's a great question. Thank you. There's always some cities I've got my eye on in terms of they all have stories to be told. But what it really comes down to is, in order to effectively tell these stories, like from the comp's perspective, as I mentioned, you need the cooperation of either the district attorney or the police police or a recently retired investigator. There's only one book in the series, Murder City, the first one, where I relied solely on diaries written and left as a time capsule by the detective before he died about clues that a next generation could follow. That was tough. It made for a remarkable story, but just piecing these together without being able to talk to anyone was a real uphill battle. So moving forward, I would really want the authenticity of a living person to be able to talk to and bounce these off. So I've got a short list at any given time, and we'll see where the next story takes me.
Well, I've got a link to the book. It's available right now for purchase. It came out on the 4th of September, and it's also a Winning Wednesday, so I've also got a link to win a copy of the book this week, and you'll find all of that in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com. Michael, thank you again for taking the time to chat with us, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
Again, Professor Michael Arntfield, and his new book is out now. It's called Monster City, Murder, Music, and Mayhem in Nashville's Dark Age. I've got a link to it in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
John and Heidi.
If you want to grow your business, you can add more customers or sell more stuff to your current customers or a combination of both. There's no other way to grow your business. Just those two. Add more customers or sell more stuff to your current customers. And if you already have a relationship with your customers and you have their email address, you can reach out to them with special offers to easily grow your sales, and you'll make your customers even happier. Let the experts at Constant Contact help. Get a free trial now. Text Radio Trial to number 22828. That's Radio Trial, all one word, to number 22828.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Before the invention of color TV, 75% of people said they dreamed in black and white. Today, only 12% of people dream in black and white. Do you ever have a dream in black and white?
No.
I don't think I've ever had that.
No, me either.
Sometimes my dreams are like high definition. They're so real, I think they actually happened. I have a friend who's a firefighter who I had a dream one time that he called me and needed someone to drive the fire truck. And then it was like a week later, I was like, Did that really happen, or was that just a dream? He's like, it concerns me that you're dreaming of me. I was like, I don't usually remember my dreams.
And you asked me that morning.
I was like, did I leave last night? You're like, I don't think you did, but
think so.
She's my wife. That's how she would have known if I left.
I left to go drive a fire truck. I'm pretty sure
I don't think that happened.
Honey.
I'm pretty sure Matt called me. You're like, I'm pretty sure Matt didn't call you. No, apparently what that means is I want to drive a fire truck. Thanks for listening to another fun fact on the John and Heidi Show. If you have a dog, listen to this. FreshPatch.com is a subscription service that will send you a box with a fresh patch of grass for your dog to use for a few weeks. Then they send you a new fresh patch and you discard the old one. You can throw it in the trash, use it for compost, or even put it in your yard and it'll grow into the ground. FreshPatch.com has thousands of happy dog families who love this concept, especially in the colder months. Try it now for a little less. Use promo code RADIO to save 10%. That's FreshPatch.com, promo code RADIO. Time now for the grandiloquent word. Today's word is culacino. That's fun to say. Culacino. What do you think culacino is, Heidi?
It's a summertime coffee drink.
That does sound delicious. Culacino. Culaccino. Culacino is the stain left on a table from a cold glass of water.
Oh.
Culacino. A mark left on a surface by the bottom of a wet glass or vessel. The dreg in a glass or remaining part of a substance in a vessel. The end of a salami loaf of bread is also like what we call the heel or whatever. That's also culacino. I'm going to call it that from now on because culacino is a cool word. I think it's, sounds yummy.
It does.
Can't wait for some culacino. Thanks for listening to today's grandiloquent word. We're getting to the time of year where we start planning for holiday parties and other events that often include alcohol. I encourage you to have some alcohol-free options as well. And if you are drinking, be sure to have a designated driver. If you or someone you know has a problem with drugs or alcohol, there is help. Timeforrehab.com would love to connect you with someone who can be there for you or that loved one. If you feel like it's time to finally get the help you need, we're here for you. Timeforrehab.com. That's timeforrehab.com. Now some weird news for you here. I'm not going to read this story word for word because there are things in this story that I think are just not really something I want on our program. But there was a person on a sex offender registry that had to have his photo taken. And his name is Daniel Audrey Wayne Smith. There's a lot of names there. For whatever reason, in the photo, he wore a green shirt with a Subway logo on it. Now, the reason that's a little bit bizarre is because Subway had a spokesperson, Jared Fogle,
right,
who also got in trouble for, doing what he did. I'm not going to read all the dealings in this story, but I just thought it was really interesting of all of the articles of clothing to wear, that's what he would have worn in that particular photo. Again, I'm not going to read all the stuff about it because there's details in here that I don't even want to put on the radio. And here's the other thing I got to say. I love Subway. And it's not their fault that Jared did what he did, and it's not their fault that this guy wore this shirt. And when I was reading this online, it was sad to me how many people were making fun of Subway. I'm like, it's not up to them. It's not like they gave him the shirt and said, we'd like to sponsor this sexual
we
predator.
want to sponsor you.
No, they didn't do that. And when they found out that the other guy was doing what he's doing, he doesn't work for them anymore.
Right.
So anyway, I do have a link to the story if you want to read all about it. It's in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
John and Heidi.
Time now for the moment of duh. This is typically a story where somebody did something not too bright. Like this one. A North Carolina teenager is accused of holding his boss at gunpoint and demanding that he be paid in cash. What?
Whoa.
18-year-old Joshua Caleb Hunt is charged with kidnapping and discharging a firearm to cause fear. It says here that he told authorities, the boss told authorities that Hunt called out of work Friday and hadn't picked up his paycheck. It's when the boss said he entered the business Monday and began yelling, and he told them he didn't have cash, but the check was already written. He said, I have a check for you. And no, I want cash. Anyway, it's when he pulled out a gun and held them at gunpoint, and he kept the people there. It's unclear if he had a lawyer or not to represent him, but that is not a good way to get paid.
No,
I don't even know for sure what he does for a living, but it doesn't matter in any line of work. To hold your employer at gunpoint demanding cash instead of a paycheck is not a good idea.
No, not at all.
I got a feeling that's his former employer. Just going on a limb here. Thanks for listening to today's Moment of Duh.
John and Heidi.
If you want to grow your business, you can add more customers or sell more stuff to your current customers or a combination of both. There's no other way to grow your business. Just those two. Add more customers or sell more stuff to your current customers. And if you already have a relationship with your customers and you have their email address, you can reach out to them with special offers to easily grow your sales, and you'll make your customers even happier. Let the experts at Constant Contact help. Get a free trial now. Text Radio Trial to number 22828. That's Radio Trial, all one word, to number 22828.
Time now for fake news or Florida. Is this a true story that happened in the great state of Florida, Heidi? Or is this fake news that was just put together to try to fool you? Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Florida police are investigating a mom who was caught on camera dunking her son's head in the toilet 3 separate times. Fake news or Florida?
Florida.
Florida. Absolutely true story. I don't know why she did what she did. That makes no sense to me. But I do have a link to the story if you want to read all about it. What in the world? Here's the thing that's amazing to me. And I do have some people that have sent in some fake news that's pretty darn good, too. But every day I get too many fake news Florida stories to share. I'm going to just scroll fast so you can't read them. But this is where we are. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I've got 14 stories on standby right now. And if you have something that's amazing and I want to send it, I'll take those too, because I don't want to run out of these. I don't think we're going to. You can send them through the John and Heidi Show website at johnandheidishow.com.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
Time now for some good news. We love to wrap this program up with something positive.
Yes, we do.
And we typically do, and I think this is a pretty darn good story here. Good news comes your way courtesy of Odiva, the monthly subscription service just for the ladies. All the details at radiosavings.com. Here's the headline. Aunt writes emotional note to a stranger who opened her arms to a boy she'd never met. So this is kind of a cool story. People are always telling children, don't talk to strangers. But everyone is glad that this little guy, Isaiah Miller, didn't follow that advice a couple weeks ago.
I read this one. This is so sweet.
His aunt, Star Balloon Bradley, was with her nephew at a football game, and he wandered up to the stands and started talking with people. And there was a woman who he had never met before. Not only did he eventually crawl onto her lap, but they were talking to each other like they knew each other. Unfortunately, the woman left the game to meet up with her daughter before this kid's aunt could actually get her name. But she spotted the same football fan sitting in the stands once more. Not long after we sat down at the game, Isaiah spotted her, this lady wrote. She waved at him, and he made his way up to her. I thought that their interaction would be the same as last time, but I was wrong. Isaiah walked right up to her, smiling, crawled onto her lap, and laid his head down on her shoulder. She welcomed him with open arms. She said this lady patted and rocked Isaiah to sleep like she had given birth to him herself. It was the sweetest. We asked her if she wanted to get him... We asked her if she wanted us to get him, but she kept telling us, no, it's fine. So she kept holding him, while he took a little nap. Isaiah and the lady had never met before, other than those 20 minutes at a game 2 weeks ago, and they just had this instant bond. And it's just a cool story. If you've got time, I want to read the whole thing. I've got a link to it in the show notes. But, I think that's really cool. And I remember a story about a little girl who was at a grocery store, and there was an old man who was kind of frowning.
Yeah.
And she came over to him and said, "You need to smile." And then the guy just burst into laughter, and they became best friends.
And they went and visited him.
And
every
it reminds me a lot of that, where children are just amazing, how they can kind of just pick up on things. So I do have a link to the story in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great Wednesday. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.